young boxing fans that are watching Floyd Mayweather, you're seeing one of the, if not the greatest defensive fighter of all time. I mean, that's how strong I feel about him.
He's everywhere and then he's nowhere. You think you've got him,
little dipsy-doodle, you throw the punch and he's not there. And again, it's not just hand quickness, it's the movement of the head, the way he rolls with punches. Look at the way he makes them miss. I mean,
Hey guys, welcome to Ultra Instinct 101. Today we're going to look at the evasive fighting style, the fighting style that famous fighters such as Floyd Mayweather Jr. and in Muay Thai fighters like Sanchai like to use. In order to really understand the evasive fighting style through and through, you have to first be able to see a fight the same way that these fighters see it, okay? And that is a series of exchanges, all right? Every fight is basically a situation where two fighters come together, there's an exchange, and then there's a separation. So for the sake of argument, let's just look at an exchange as a match of rock, paper, scissors, okay? If every time the fighters come together, one side continuously wins the rock, paper, scissors match, it's gonna begin to look like to the crowd that one side is winning the match and momentum is starting to build on his side, right? And the underdog story is when one side wins 10, let's say, consecutive rock, paper, scissors matches, and then the other side comes out of nowhere and with a Hail Mary lands and wins a rock, paper, scissors match in a very hard way. And then all of a sudden things start to turn around and everybody gets excited and loses their mind, okay? So you have to look at it in that way in order to understand exactly how these fighters strategize and exactly how they see fighting in general, okay? And for these fighters, their number one asset is displacement, okay? Because you don't have to be in the point of exchange with another fighter unless you decide you want to be, right? So if your displacement is really, really good, well, you can dance around your opponent and only enter the point of exchange on your terms, okay? So the opposite of that would be a fighter who's heavy on his feet or tired, and then the other fighter comes in and forces an exchange on them. But because they don't have the ability to displace themselves in a strong way, or they're tired, they're kind of forced into an exchange on the opponent's terms, okay? But the evasive fighter is so good in terms of cardio, they skip a lot of rope, they practice moving around a lot, they zip zap around the ring, and they are so strong at their displacement game that they are never forced into, or almost never forced into, an exchange on the opponent's terms, and they only enter the exchange on their terms, okay? So let's look over here for a sec. You're going to see that I have the head displacement drawn out over here, okay? And let's just think of it as a triangle, okay? You would be over here and your opponent would be here, okay? When you're looking at this triangle, we have to understand that there are three places we can be that makes a guarantee that we're gonna be safe and not be able to get hit. So that's gonna be when you're far away from your opponent, okay? When your head is far away from your opponent, okay? Or if your head happens to be next to the opponent's shoulders, okay? So anywhere in between this, I would call the point of exchange, okay? And basically, every time your opponent moves around and faces you, this triangle moves with him, okay? And you never want to enter this point of exchange on this person's terms. Even if he's chasing you around the ring, you want to stay in one of these blue circle zones at any given time, okay? So basically here I drew three circles, one blue, one black, and one red, okay? Black would indicate the neutral head position when you're just standing normally, okay? Red would indicate when you're kind of leaning in into the point of exchange to bait your opponent into doing something, okay? Or you're dipping your head into the point of exchange and throwing up a guard just to see what your opponent's gonna do. So this is like a data collection zone, okay? Or a baiting zone, okay? Also, when you lean forward with your head, you're holding your ground pretty strongly, okay? So this is something that you wanna do a lot because basically you can't always be on your back leg, which is the blue circle, because then if you're always there, you're going to get chased around too much, and at that point your displacement game isn't going to be very strong, okay? So basically this triangle here, which the point of exchange, you want to make sure that you're only going to enter on your terms, okay? So maybe you're going to dip into the point of exchange to throw an attack, or maybe you're going to dip into the point of exchange to test your opponent or to hold your ground, okay? But in all circumstances, you only want to be in there on your terms, okay? So let's look at the ring here. I drew like a chessboard, okay? And the reason I did that was to make it clear that these are territories, all right? So if this triangle was brought into this chessboard over here, dead in the center, you would have basically a lot of room around you as your asset. Think of it as money in the bank, okay? If you find yourself on the ropes, now you're limited in terms of your displacement options, okay? So you wouldn't even have this option anymore, because if you're on the ropes, you have no more place to retreat to. So you only have these two circles. So at that point, you either have to smother your opponent when he forces you into an exchange, or you have to find a way to slip and duck out so you can get back into the center of the ring. So basically, in general, your number one asset is your displacement, and only second to that is your fighting ability, okay? Because if most of the time of the fight you're spending not in the point of exchange and only there on your terms, it would indicate that roughly 20% of the fight you're actually in the point of exchange. So that's where your fighting ability will come in, your technique, your rhythm, your timing, and your intuition for when you want to jump into the point of exchange. When you feel it's the most likely that you can enter the point of exchange with an advantage rather than just randomly jumping into the point of exchange, okay? And that would be like if you notice your opponent looks tired, or he's stumbling, or he's, you know, not focused or something. That's when you would jump in and you would go in with an advantage, throw hands, win the rock, paper, scissors match, and then duck out and continue to move. All right. So in a nutshell, without too much detail, this is the evasive fighting technique or style, and you can just try to absorb this and put it into your own fighting style. If you're a boxer, if you're a Muay Thai fighter, it's a little bit harder to be evasive, but you can figure it out just based on this general idea, okay? So one last time, basically the evasive fighting style, they have their assets flipped upside down, where most fighters would think that their fighting ability is the number one asset, but for them it's more the displacement that's the number one asset, and secondary to that is the fighting ability. All right, so that's about it. If you like this video, or if you found it useful, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you have any comments about it or any questions, write it down and I'll take a look at it. And that's about it. I'll see you guys next time. Third strike, yo. I know you got your options, so pick the right thing. Some choice.